Would you say that Raymond in the movie Rain Man was smart? He memorized an entire phone book and solved huge math problems almost instantly. That's an incredible feat that certainly helps to convince me that he is smart. But also, he is autistic. He is socially incapable and lacks certain normal human emotions, so would it be correct to call him smart? Then how do we measure someone's intelligence or how smart he or she really is? The IQ test? School grades? SAT scores? These are some of the common answers I got from a few of my friends, but also some of them suggested some interesting answers, such as saying one's creativity, wit, or abstract thinking. If you think about it, intelligence has a pretty broad, fickle meaning in our society. It's used frequently for a variety of situations. For example, my mother would always call me smart, although I can't even push on a door that has a sign that says pull. We call an infant smart if he can talk at a very young age. We call animals smart for doing basic things such as sitting when told to sit. We call Ken Jennings smart for his vast knowledge and his ridiculous winning streak in Jeopardy! We call Albert Einstein smart for shattering traditional physics with the mind-boggling theory of relativity and deriving the famous E is equal to mc squared equation. This is why there is a debate about whether or not test scores and school grades should be used to measure one's intelligence. We hear all the time how someone is smart, but doesn't perform very well in schools or tests. These kind of people are said to be street smart, and the people who do well in education are said to be book smart. So let's look into these two smarts. To be street smart is to have practical knowledge and skills to get through life in the real world. It describes a person who knows who to talk to, where to go to, and how to act to achieve something out on the street. What I think of is a person who makes quick, clever judgments in different real-life situations. Tom Sawyer is a good example of a person who is street smart. He wasn't very educated, but he was smart for being able to manipulate people to get what he wants, like getting a fence painted and getting an apple in the process as a bonus. He knew who to talk to and how to act to get what he wanted. That is street smart. A person who is book smart is, well, a nerd in the most basic and stereotypical form. So, someone who does well in academic classes. But I like this definition better. A person is said to be book smart if he or she excels in obtaining, retaining, and recalling theoretical knowledge in informative sources such as books and classes. So, stereotypically perfect academic students who have 4.0 GPA with maximum IB points and perfect SAT scores are said to be book smart. So, what's the significance of these two types of intelligence? There is a common denominator in the two smarts. Both of them have something to do with being knowledgeable. So, would it be safe to say that having a large amount of knowledge is the key to being smart? I would say yes if we only call someone like a teacher who has vast cognitive database on psychology and history smart. What about mathematicians who don't necessarily have as much knowledge as that teacher, but has vastly superior processing power to solve complex problems? What I'm trying to say is that our society doesn't only use knowledge as a basis to measure intelligence. It's only one of many. So, another criteria to measure one's intelligence seems to be cognitive performance, like one's aptitude in math or sciences. This is not as simple as saying that someone is smart if he or she is good at math. There are numerous components to determine how good someone is at doing math. We can't really say that Bobby is a math whiz just because he can solve problems really quickly. We need to take into account accuracy, volume, and complexity. Accuracy. Can Bobby get the right answer? Volume. How much information can he process? Complexity. Can he understand and solve difficult problems and think critically to get answers? We don't explicitly think about these components, but we evaluate these four criterions to judge whether or not someone is smart in terms of cognitive performance. Now we got knowledge and cognitive performance to measure intelligence. If we combine these two components together, we would surely get the answer to defining intelligence, right? I wish it was that simple, but our journey isn't finished yet. If we have an entity with massive storage of knowledge and unparalleled cognitive performance, would we get the ultimate intelligent being? What if I said there is already such monstrosity in existence? and within a few feet of you right now. If you guess that it's your computer, then you're correct. Your computer has a hard drive to store information as well as access to over 5 billion gigabytes of data on the internet. The computer can readily access and process those information, so we can roughly say that the computer knows those information electronically. And also, modern computers have powerful processors that can process massive amount of data very quickly to get accurate answers for complex problems or tasks. Yet, the general population has a mixed view about whether or not computers are intelligent. Why? Because even though computers can do some things that we can't do, computers can't do some things we can do. For example, in our minds, computers we have today cannot be creative. They cannot truly think outside of the box, or for computers, outside of what they're programmed to do. They are remarkable at plugging in variables into the algorithms and spitting out results, but their capabilities falter when it comes to creating art, reaching abstract, indefinite answers, writing poems, or making inventions. However, computers are getting smarter. IBM's Watson is one of the most advanced artificial intelligence computer in the world. Watson takes information from the web and learns from them to answer questions posed in natural human language. So it's basically a multi-million-dollar version of Apple's Siri. Recently, Watson was asked to come up with an original croissant recipe. That's right, a computer making a croissant. And it did, from analyzing over 20,000 recipes online. Whether or not this is a true act of creativity is debatable and would take far too long to talk about, but it is far more creative than your laptop. Another reason why a computer isn't widely considered intelligent is because it does not have a human-like consciousness, or being aware of oneself and others. This is the reason why we don't call plants and some animals intelligent beings. Scientists suggest that only apes, dolphins, and elephants exhibit signs of self-awareness. Wait a minute. Didn't I just say that people call animals smart for sitting when told to sit? Dogs can do that. So aren't I contradicting myself? Yes and no. In a logical thinking process, if something needs to have consciousness to be intelligent, and dogs do not have consciousness, dogs are either not intelligent and lack consciousness, or intelligent and do have consciousness. But both options above are not true, because the whole time, the definition of intelligence or smartness has been relative. There is no definite overarching definition and list of criterions needed for someone or something to be smart, except for maybe one thing. The word smart is a compliment, and rightly so. A subject complements the object for an extraordinary trait. But we need to be careful with the word extraordinary. In this case, we need to think of it as extraordinary, or just out of the ordinary. Extraordinary can be either large or small deviation from what we deem are ordinary. Ken Jennings is smart because he possesses extraordinary amount of knowledge. Tom Sawyer is smart because he's extraordinary at getting out of doing chores using his skills and knowledges. A nerd is smart because he or she is extraordinary in his or her academic achievements. A dog who sits command is extraordinary because we have low standards for dogs. Intelligence is relative to the object and the subject, as well as the ground on which the intelligence is measured on. Intelligence is a comparison between the characteristic of the subject and the standards of the object on what is and what isn't extraordinary. And it also depends on what you're comparing. Amount of knowledge, cognitive ability, creativity, consciousness, all the above? No wonder people have a hard time coming to a consensus about whether or not tests and school transcripts reflect on a person's intelligence. We have been trying to get a black or white answer when it's actually whatever this color is. How smart you are is relative.